Yeah.
So what was so when she said that Bernie Sanders said that a woman couldn't be president, like I said, they have clips of Bernie Sanders saying a woman could have been president like back when 15, 20 years ago, right? So it was like that's completely out of character. That doesn't sound right. So progressives, like the majority of this is the thing that people got to understand. The progressive wing is the Bernie Sanders wing. Okay, it's the Bernie. There's a lot of them who right now might not like him because of the fact that they think that he should have either ran third party or he should have he should have thrown. This is the thing though. Look, for anybody who's not Bernie Sanders, that would be a better and easier route. But you got to understand that this man, he's engulfed in that game, so he really can't. There's a certain way that he has to play where he's at now. We might not like it, we might not agree with it, but that's just the way it is for him, right? So I'm not one of those that thrown him, that said that F Bernie Sanders. I'm not one of those guys at all. I'm still loyal to him. Not loyal to him, but I'm loyal to the party, and I'm loyal to the progressive ideas, but that's still my dude. So anyway, but back then there was that perception that she was doing that to kind of undermine him. And then there's also the whole idea of like, if you're the second most progressive person on this ballot, we dropped out, why didn't you throw your support behind him, right? So there's just kind of this thing that they just did. It threw off a lot of people. So that's the reason why. That's a long-winded answer to say why the progressive vote wouldn't have generally gone through Elizabeth Warren. But right. I do think probably more important than the progressive vote is the young vote, which some people might say that's one and the same. Because remember I told you that Democrats need to understand when they're running for president, they win when they listen to the young vote. Even though there's this misconceived idea that, and I think it's misconceived, I don't know if you believe it, that young voters don't vote. I don't buy that. I don't buy it. I believe it's the same percentage as regular people that don't vote. I think it's about the same.
I kind of agree with that sentiment that young voters don't vote. Now, I don't think it's as rampant as some people make it sound, but there is definitely a sense of voter depression where you convince voters that there's no point in voting. It doesn't make any difference. And then they're like, well, why would I go vote when the election is being held on the Tuesday?
Yeah, and that's the thing is, though,
to go vote.
You can kind of say that they have a point in saying, like, does my vote really matter if the Electoral College is deciding my vote? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't agree with it. I believe go vote. Go vote. If you don't vote for either of their two, if you want to vote third party, I'm sorry. I'm one of those people that doesn't believe that taking a vote for not voting for Biden is taking a vote away from Trump, because the thing is, at the end of the day, it is not the voters' responsibility to convince themselves into going for Biden. It's Biden's responsibility. It's a candidate's responsibility to convince the voters to vote for him. So I don't buy that whole, if I don't vote for him, I'm voting in Trump. No, I was like, if I don't vote for him and if I don't vote for him, then it's America who decided who they prefer. It's
okay. So let me challenge you for a second on that one. All right. So you got candidate A that has, let's say, 40% solid support, right? Supposedly, right, according to polls. And candidate B that's got 40% solid support as well, according to polls. So you've got 20% out there, right, ready to be persuaded one way or another.
Uh-huh.
Are you writing down the 20%?
I'm writing this math down, so it's 20%, okay?
No, 40, 20. So, all right, so 20% is still waiting to be persuaded. The question is, if you're in that 20% and you're like, I'm not going to vote for either of the two that are in the 40%, what is the end goal? What are you trying to do with that vote? Because that vote can actually change any legislation. It can't make the playing field the way you want it to be. So what is...
So look, first and foremost, I want to say real quickly, I get the idea behind the vote blue no matter who. right? Because you want Trump out because he's just that bad. His presidency is just that scary of an idea, right? So I get the whole, no, I need to vote for Biden to get Trump out. I get that. I really do. But I also get the ones who are like, what the hell's the point of me voting for him when I feel like you've already burnt me one time when there's a lot of people who feel they suppressed the Bernie votes, they suppressed the primary. I personally think primaries should not be run by the party. I really don't. I think the primaries should be run by the same way a general. I don't know if the general election is ran a certain way, but I don't think the primary, the Democratic primary convention should be run by the DNC. I think it should be run by a third party that's not biased, because we could throw out. Yeah, nonpartisan. I personally think that, because then you can at least try to eliminate the best that you can the idea of voter suppression, right? But there's that idea. I get the people who don't want to vote for either of them because they're already like, first of all, neither of them represent what I want. When you have 80% of voters saying they want some M4A, medical for all, on the ballot or in part of the conversation, and you have the one party that's supposed to represent me in regards to the more liberal wing, which is the Democratic Party, when you have that and they vote that off, you're not listening to me. So why should I give you my vote if you're not even listening to me? Because you're obviously doing what you want to do. So the thing with my vote is, all right, yeah, there's this one guy who probably is never going to be heard from again after this, and the Green Party, Hawkins, who, by the way, also has a black female as his vice presidential pick. But if I vote for this guy, and he gets enough votes, he gets to put his platform on. That's the same way that during the primary, yeah, he gets I forget what it is. He gets something, a convention or something. So he gets basically that party gets to have a voice, right? They get to speak. I forget what some people always mention.
They get to have a voice where?
If I'm not mistaken, it's at the next convention. Listen, I'll figure that one out a little bit better than what I'm saying right now. It's just that if you vote for the third party, they get to have some type of voice, some type of representation in, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's the next year's convention or the next convention at the next election, right? So it's just a lot of people are playing the long game because they have to play the long game because the short game isn't working for us. I get the whole, I need to get Trump out. But a lot of the same people who are looking at Trump like, okay, Trump's locking up kids in cages, but Barack Obama and the administration this guy was in was known as the deporter-in-chief. So how are, like, just one is much, I just feel like one is much smoother than the other one, right? Like I'm giving you the perception, Zeno. You might not like it, but that's the perception. That's the way a lot of people are thinking, okay? Trust me, I got my ears to the streets, okay? I be hearing some of these people. I hear some of these people who are frustrated, right? I get them. I understand them. Because the thing is, you don't feel like your voice is being heard. So why should I? And you're saying that my voting is the most important thing I can do. So why am I going to just give it to you? Why is it you automatically got me because I'm a Latino man? Why are you automatically think I'm checking you off? Like, but you ain't giving me, you aren't offering the opportunity to have Medicare for all. You said you'd veto it. You know, Green New Deal is nowhere near on your platform. Like, some people are like, well, you know, if you vote for him, maybe you could start moving him towards progressiveness. I was like, yeah, but he isn't budging.
But okay, you know, that's one place I will challenge you on. Let's say you have two people, right, that are the only viable people that could actually win this race, like Trump and Biden. Which one of them do you think is more likely to even give an inch to the Green New Deal or to Medicare for all? Even an inch. Which one is more likely?
More likely, it's Biden. But that's no, it's possible. But at this point, it doesn't seem like it's possible. Because it's just,
it's
like
possible,
I said,
but not plausible.
Because he isn't budging. He hasn't been like you've known you were going to be the presidential nominee since what? March, when this whole COVID thing started? Since March, you've known that you were going to be presidential nominee. Why haven't you tried to sway those voters? You've been sticking to your guns about this and that. Civil unrest happens. What do you say? Police need more funding.
But you know damn well, if he now says, okay, now I'm for Medicare for all, then people will be like, oh, now he's flip-flopping and he's this and that. I just think it's the same thing with the Citizens United thing, right? Where basically corporations are people, right? And they can donate as much as they want, as long as they do it through a super PAC and it's not with the corporation of the campaigns that they're supporting. I think that's a mess. But because it is the current rule of law, I think everyone should play by that ruling and then put people in power who would actually move to remove that. Because we've seen Citizens United in action for, I think, was it 2010 that the ruling was put in place? Something like that. We've seen it in place for a decade now. And we know it's detrimental to American democracy, right? Because you're basically allowing a couple of billionaires to dictate what gets put in the airwaves that millions of people see. So I want to put people in there who, even though they're playing by those rules of using corporate tax or whatever, once they're in there, they are more likely to remove that, right? So same thing goes for now Medicare for all. I don't know how easy it would be to budge someone like Biden. Biden's open, you know. He believes that there's a place for both the public option and private insurance. Yeah.
And that's why I said that we were both thrown off, I think, by Kamala Harris.
Right? Yeah.
Because it was just like you had an opportunity to pick somebody that could be like, okay, maybe not you, but maybe this one. You know what I mean? Like maybe not you.
But who though? Who? Like I said,
look, Abrams has a perceived progressive platform. Perceived. It's perceived, right?
Yeah.
You know, you also have, like you said, Elizabeth. Even if he had picked Elizabeth Warren, and there's a lot of like the diehard ones that wouldn't want her. There's going to be a few. There's going to be some of them. There's going to be a lot of the ones that still would want her. Because remember, the funny thing was, Elizabeth. Like this is why everybody was so perplexed about Elizabeth Warren not throwing her support behind Bernie Sanders, is because usually if they had the 1 and 2, which one of my friends said. That's how there's a lot of places like that where you pick the 1 and 2. You get to pick, like. Well,
that's how the American election used to work back in the time of Hamilton.
Yeah, I read that on Wikipedia too after I watched the play. But yeah, like it's like 1 and 2. Like you get to pick everybody. Whenever Elizabeth Warren was the number 1, majority of the time their number 2 was Bernie Sanders. So it just for a lot of people, it just didn't make sense that she didn't throw it. So that's the reason why, yeah, they didn't like her. But again, that even then, if he had picked her, I think that would have been a lot better of a reception than Kamala Harris. And it has nothing to do with the skin, because I know a lot of people might think, oh, the skin color. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's just the perceived of a politician they are. Let me turn this off.
I will say though, since you did mention the skin color thing for a second, that's a big thing, right? We're focusing on the fact that she's black, but she's also Indian, also half Indian, you know, and so Jamaican and Indian, and there are a lot of people that I wasn't even expecting to hear from that are like actually fired up about this. We don't know how long the VP bump lasts. But at least for now, they're like, oh, wow, can Indian person on the ticket.
I'm going to tell you right now, the response to her, although not as exciting, and I say exciting, I definitely don't mean anything in regards to how her policies were, her popularity, but as exciting as the Sarah Palin pick, because somebody made a good point about the Sarah Palin pick. when Sarah Palin was nominated, because that was the first real election that I kind of remember. I kind of paid attention to the 2004 one. That's when I graduated high school, but I just went and voted for Kerry. I didn't vote. Like, I didn't really pay attention to Kerry because I wasn't.
That was the first one I paid attention to, 2004.
That one I was voting blue no matter who on that one, because I was just like, I'm just going to But the 2008 election was the one that I really paid attention to the very first time. That is our defining. That honestly is our JFK, our generation's JFK, in regards to the young and different, than not the same as everybody else, because he was the first Catholic, he was the first, he was good looking and young and all that good stuff. But when Sarah Palin was picked, somebody said that it was the equivalent of a sugar high. It went up and then it went down. I don't think Kamala Harris will be like that. The people who like her have already said they like her, and they'll stay liking her. The people who don't like her, they've already, because Sarah Palin wasn't known. That's the one thing that Kamala Harris has, is she's already was well known. In fact, I'm not gonna lie, it's just based on how you perceive people over time and how you kind of learn more about them. When I first heard about Kamala Harris, which was back 2000, I think she was during Obama's years, obviously. What was it, 2004 is when she really came into the limelight? Or was it 2000?
Well, she became a senator.
No, not 2004. It was 2012 or 16.
Yeah.
Okay. When she came around, I was like, you know what? If there's a woman, it might be her. Because you kind of instantly think, I was like, this person's gonna run for president. When Obama became big, when he started speaking up, because I was writing a paper on immigration, he spoke on it. I kind of read up on him, and I was like, you know what? That guy's gonna run for president one of these days. And she was one of those people like that. So she's known. She has that over what, let's just say, Sarah Palin had, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's also another conversation we could talk about later on. I actually have one of my friends who used to be my teacher. She's one of my friends. We actually discussed about how important it is that there's a woman on the ballot, the second most powerful position in the world, or the free world, right? So that's also another conversation that we should have about how important is that, because there was when Joe Biden said, "I'm going to pick a woman," that instantly ended the whole tension of, is it going to be a woman? And I think it was smart for him to say that, because one, he ended the speculation.
Yeah.
And then two, women also got to see, there's going to be somebody on the ballot who looks like.
Yeah, and honestly, though, when you think about it, which male candidates could he possibly pick? I mean, he couldn't have picked Bernie, because Bernie, the perception about Biden is that he's old and we don't know if he has all his faculties. Which honestly, I don't know how they can have that perception of Biden and not have the same perception of Trump. But whatever, let's not get into that. But so that's the perception of Biden. Right? It would have defeated the purpose to pick another man of advanced age to be a running mate, right? Even though they were the two that went the furthest, right? Bernie definitely bringing in the progressive wing, and Biden the more centrist wing, right?
Yeah.
So that would have matched, but they were both of advanced age, so it would have worked. But what other male? Buttigieg looks like young Biden.
You ever seen the videos where they have him talking where they have him compared to Obama's speeches, and they said that he's trying to mimic him?
Yeah. I've seen that before. And then Cory Booker, I don't think that would work. I don't know. I'm just no. So really, I think he knew that. Look, I'm gonna pick a woman. I might as well use it to my advantage by putting it out there right now that I'm gonna pick a woman. And it helped, because that was before a key primary.
But isn't that kind of a way for the public to vet him for you? Like, for them to vet it, like, you can hear the public opinion. So my thing is, like, I just want to know what polls they're listening to in regards to the public opinion for. I mean, maybe he thinks she's the best fit one, right? Maybe he thinks she's the best fit one. But I also think public opinion should at least be kind of a bit of a factor, right?
Yeah, but it's been 4 months since he said he was going to pick a woman. And the question I've been asking around, like, which woman would you think should be the lead? And the common theme was that people weren't sure. People didn't really have like a good answer. People told me who they didn't want, but no one ever really told me who they did want. So, and I think it's just one of those situations where maybe there just wasn't that great of an answer. And to be honest, I don't mind the Harris pick. It wouldn't have been my first choice, but I think she's a strong debater. I think she's gonna wipe the floor with Mike Pence. And yeah. I don't think Pence was. Do you remember Pence versus Kane? That was a terrible
No,
debate.
because I didn't bother with that one because both of them.
Oh, you didn't watch it? I did, and it was terrible. So I think at least on that end, I think it works out. And of the black women that were left, she's definitely the most high profile. She's the one that people who even just barely follow politics know who she is. I didn't know who Val Demings was till about a month ago. So, and I think I follow politics pretty closely. So, I don't know. I think it was just one of those where it's like,
like I said, we have a wait till November. Now I think that we know who the VP and the presidential pick are, right? Even though people are, is there still primaries going on? Like, or all the primaries are done, right?
All the primaries are done because the convention is starting on Monday.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. And by the way, real quickly, I figured out what voting third party does. So if voting for third party presidential candidate, if a third party gets 5% of the popular vote, they start to qualify for public campaign funding. So if they qualify for public campaign funding, then you're and also one other thing that is you got to think about.
Sorry, is it 5%? If you get 5% of the vote in this election, they qualify for public campaign funding in like the 2024 election?
Probably probably the next elections or whatever or whatnot.
Or is it that if they poll at 5% or higher, they qualify for public funding for this election?
It doesn't really say that. It just says that if you get 5% of the popular vote, you start qualifying for that. So maybe it's for the states. Maybe if you get 5% in that state, you start qualifying for that state. Maybe it's the general. If it's the general, so I probably should read up on that too a little bit to know. But there, you're not throwing away your vote because you actually are part of a cause there.